how to assess innovations in market research and insights, which is a question I'm fairly often asked. So this is part of the how-to series that we are doing with UMR, where we're specifically looking at how to do various tasks. So first of all, what do we mean by success? If we want to look at a new innovation and say, is it going to be successful? We need to think about what we mean. So globally, market research is worth about $76 billion US. So you probably need to be getting at least 0.5% of that for a new technique, a new innovation, a new idea. For it to be considered successful. So 1% would be 760 million, 0.5%, 380 million. So that is an enormous size. Examples of success: online surveys, mobile surveys, online communities, which is something like 3% now of all market research, customer satisfaction, which is about 5% of all market research. The humble NPS is now in really widespread use. Ad tracking. Now, if you're new in the industry, you might think surely ad tracking has always been there. Actually, no, it was invented in the 1980s, largely by Maurice Millward and Gordon Brown. Quant ad testing, again, was largely invented in the 1980s. DIY, and we've seen Qualtrics just sold for $8 billion. So DIY, clearly a success story. There are also niches, and a niche can be really successful. They can solve a business problem and they can make money. So semiotics, eye tracking, mobile ethnography, all of these sorts of things are niches. They don't account for 0.5% of the total industry spend, but you can make a really good living from those products. You, as running a company delivering this, might be making $1 million a year, 10 million, or more than that. So just because something is a niche doesn't mean that you can't make money out of it, but it does impact how you as a client think about your strategy, how the industry thinks about its building blocks to deliver solutions. So I've got 8 questions. You don't need to make a note of these. We're going to go through all 8 one at a time, and they will be available in the slides to download. Can it be provided by multiple suppliers? So if you've got a brilliant patented black box, nobody else can offer it, it almost certainly won't be a major success. Most solutions that can be purchased from multiple suppliers are more attractive to buyers. They tend to have more marketing, they have more sales, they have more development through the process. So that is one of the things that I look for. Can it be provided by multiple suppliers? So online communities became successful when it wasn't just Communispace, when it wasn't just Communispace and Vision Critical and virtual surveys, but it started to be more and more people. Now it became more and more people because they were successful niches. There is a feedback loop. NPS, now there was a lot of attempts to patent that and trademark it because it is a protected term, but it's become ubiquitous because it's offered by everybody. Online surveys offered by masses and masses of companies. DIY surveys offered by many, many companies. Challenges: whenever you see a single platform for data and reports, it will tend not to take off. A unified respondent validation scheme almost certainly won't take off. Anything which is inherently black box might be really profitable, but it'll be a niche. Does it increase speed and reduce net cost is the second question. Almost everything that's been successful in the last 10 to 20 years have been for things which increase the speed or reduce cost. Best example is probably online surveys. Everybody knew that it was reducing the quality of research, significantly reducing it, but it was cheaper and faster and was very successful. Online communities, they're faster once they're set up. Typically, they deliver 3 times as much research for the same budget. CATI, much cheaper than face-to-face. The Net Promoter Score, simple to collect, simple to report, it was faster. Most market researchers don't trust it with a barge pull, but it's fast and cheap, and it provides a single number. Conjoint analysis produces better research than stated intention, but it takes longer and it's more expensive. Semiotics provides more insight, but it takes longer and it's more expensive. Facial coding is often better than getting people to say how they actually feel about something, but it takes longer and it's more expensive. 3, Does it tackle a well-known problem that clients will prioritize? If you've got a solution to a problem that clients don't know they have, it's going to be a really hard sell. So brand tracking, it was well known that half of people's advertising spend was wasted. They just didn't know which half. So it worked straight to that. Mobile surveys, people could see that they weren't interviewing people on mobiles, that people on mobiles had different data. The NPS attacked this I want one number issue. Online panel companies, I need a one-stop solution. So when we first started using online surveys, we didn't have online panel companies by and large. We did have Harris, we had a couple of others, but really not very many of them. And so they came because people wanted that one-stop solution. Prediction markets are really quite clever, but they don't solve a problem that clients are prioritizing because they have to say that what they're doing at the moment isn't right. Behavioral economics requires clients to say what we're doing at the moment isn't right. So it's very difficult to get people to prioritize shifts towards those two. A really interesting one is better sample. Most of the big panel companies at some time over the last 15 to 20 years have offered better sample at a higher price, and almost no clients bought better sample at a higher price. So they knew there were problems, but it wasn't one that they were willing to prioritize. Is it scalable? You want to look bright, you want to look really intelligent in the business meeting. Is it scalable has become the really fashionable question in terms of its intended use. Can it be used in all the major markets? Can I find sample to make it work? Can I find enough people to operate it? So yes, DIY. If we assume that people can write surveys, DIY is great, really scalable. Online communities, when you populate them from client lists, when you staff them with community managers, becomes very scalable. Online panel companies, when they really understood that the key people were project managers plus salespeople, then that became very scalable. Digitized audience measurement, not surprising that digital products are scalable. Facial coding, ethnography, behavioral economics, not scalable, and they risk being niches permanently. Is it easy for a prospective client to know it works? The most easy way is if other people are actually already using it. People I know and respect are already using this, I'm going to assume it works. The very next best is simple to understand, and the next best is from a good brand. So one of the reasons that Zapistore were able to break through more than other similar companies were in that they weren't saying this is our ad testing. They were saying this is Millward Brown's ad testing. They weren't saying this is our measure. They were saying this is TNS's measure. So they were able to leverage somebody else's good brand name to move that forward. So NPS, it was endorsed in HBR, the Harvard Business Review, and it was simple to understand. Online panel companies, simple to understand. Online communities, once some leading brands, Hallmark cards and people like that in Discovery channels started using them and talking about them, then other people picked it up. Digitized measurements backed by the strength of brands like Nielsen. The alternative, semiotics, really hard to understand. Conjoint analysis, difficult to understand. Neuroscience, it is brain science. It is going to be hard to understand. Prediction markets, how can getting the opinion of a whole bunch of people who aren't that smart be better than getting the opinion of somebody who is smart? We can see examples of it working, but intuitively, it doesn't make great sense to lots of people. 6, is it a good cultural fit with the market? Changing the way people think and feel is hard. Success is easier if the new approach fits with the culture. So DIY is a fantastic fit in the USA. It's actually not a great fit in Asia. People would rather have a service approach in large parts of Asia. Online communities, if you've decided you are going to be customer centric, then the online communities is such a good cultural fit. NPS, great cultural fit for management, terrible cultural fit to researchers. Not many researchers would have bought NPS, but they were not the buyers. Brand tracking, a great fit for brands wanting to rate their ad agencies. Of course, not good for the ad agencies. But again, they were not buying the brand tracking. It was the people who were buying the research who were buying the tracking. Semiotics is not a great fit in the USA. Ask anybody who's tried to sell it there. Online communities have not been a great success in Japan. Crowdsourcing hasn't been a great success with either agencies or buyers because both of them tend to be control freaks. They talk about the what if it went wrong sort of problem. So they will talk a good game, but it only comes through very occasionally. Is it easy to transition to the new solution? We hear about disruption. We heard Reg a few minutes ago talking about disruption. Most people, me, you, everybody, hate being disrupted. It's fine if other people are disruptive. If I come along with a solution that's going to make your life as a client easier and is totally going to disrupt the other suppliers to you, that's fine. But if I'm going to disrupt your life, you are not going to like it. We don't want to lose historic data. We don't like the implication that what we did in the past was wrong. So online panel companies were just a swap for other fieldwork providers. So that fitted into the system. MPS can be added very easily. A few of us have been around long enough to remember PowerPoint coming in, and Christy was talking about when PowerPoint will departing, hopefully in the near future. But when it came in, it really wasn't a problem because before that, we were combining SPSS with Harvard graphics. We were having to make photo slides. We were using acetates. So this was just an all-round making our life easier. And survey platforms, so those of us who were doing online surveys in the early 1990s were writing them in HTML. We were using form submit commands. Oh, it was beautiful when the survey platforms came along and they started to organize it. Online communities, when they first came out, were really difficult because they require clients to change the way they do business. Online surveys had this big challenge when they first came out because they reduced the quality of the data. Tracking innovations, there are lots of better ways of doing tracking studies than the way we do them at the moment. But most of them are only niches because brands are not willing to go through the heartache and challenging all those key performance indicators that is required. And the eighth final question, does it have a wide area of use? A great technique that only works for a narrow range is limited to how big it's going to be. So online communities can be used for almost everything except tracking. Online surveys can be used for everything except evaluating the online world, really. DIY surveys can be used for many, many things. Online access panels can be used for many, many things. Virtual reality, and I'm going to come back to this in a moment, is mostly about category management and packaging. So whilst it's fantastic, it is a niche. Eye tracking, mostly one aspect of pack and comms testing. Facial coding, mostly one aspect of comms testing. So not everything you say to me is true, and not everything that you feel you are aware of, so you can't say that either. And facial coding will help me pick that up. But that is just one aspect of one type of project. So the limit, how much of the pie can be accounted for, the research pie by facial coding, is inherently going to be limited. So in the longer version of this presentation, we have a workshop. There is a form. You'll be able to download this form from the website when the slides are available with the 8 questions and a couple of other boxes. And I'm going to walk you through the start and the finish of applying that to an example. And in the download slides, you'll be able to see the whole worked example. So let's imagine we're talking about immersive virtual reality. So virtual reality headsets. So I described the topic, quality headsets in central locations and panel members who already have their own headsets because we know the number is growing. And we're going to supply low-cost smartphone adapters to people who don't have headsets but do have a smartphone. What are the key benefits? What situations could it be used in? Well, there is general agreement in the industry that it's more realistic than regular images, than simple photographs or videos on the screen. It's more immersive, it's cheaper, and it's quicker than building physical things. So you don't have to build this new car, this new product. You can get people to look at it, in some situations, pick it up and turn it round. Where might we use it? Well, we'd use it for category management. How many of you listening today do category management? We'll use it for pack testing. What percentage of research is pack testing? We'll use it for new product testing, usability, and user-aided design. All of those, as you can see, are niches within the whole picture. By the time we've gone through the 8 questions, we end up with this sort of output. Strengths: widely available technology, widespread assumption that it improves the realism and the engagement, cheaper and faster than building physical solutions, can be integrated with other measures such as eye tracking. Weakness: it's slower and more expensive than the most commonly used current option, which is just photos and videos. Central location is required for good tech. Personal handsets are still not in widespread ownership. Opportunities: it should have a real opportunity for competing with anybody still doing physical locations, which is a niche, plus those people using photos and videos who are willing to pay more and take longer. What are the blockers in applying it? Cost, speed, convenience compared with using just photos and videos, lack of penetration of personal headsets, and some concerns with things like motion sickness and problems with the setup. So that is how we apply this sort of analytical technique to look at how successful something might be and what the blockers and opportunities really are. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much and invite any questions.